Hi, it's Adam here from HypnoSlimming. If you don't know me, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and founder of HypnoSlimming. You may at some point been on my website, see me in the media, or perhaps taken a suitability test. The purpose of this video is to talk about New Year's resolutions and why. By the third week of January, 95% of New Year's resolutions have been failed. And it's quite possible that if you were one of these people that on January the 1st or New Year's Eve you set yourself a New Year's resolution, there's a 95% probability that you are one of those that have already failed your New Year's resolutions. And there's a couple of reasons why that. Part of a resolution itself is the psychology of a resolution. It's set up where it's incredibly difficult to succeed and very, very easy to fail. So I'll give you the classic example. The most popular resolution is to lose weight. Okay, now what does losing weight mean? It's an ambiguous statement. You could lose a pound, a kilo, a stone, a gram. So it's impossible to know when you've got there. There's no real finishing line to know when you've succeeded. So therefore, people put lots and lots of pressure on themselves. This is typically where they try and influence their behavior. They start going to the gym temporarily, they start changing their diet, they start eating well temporarily. They feel resourceful in the moment because they're very conscious about this decision. Then what happens is they have a bad day or an emotional event takes place, and then they kind of go off the rails slightly. And lots of people, particularly the people that I work with, have had the experience of emotional eating. A lot of people will use food or drink as a way to handle a specific emotion, and that might be stress, that might be anxiety, that might be boredom. And also you've got to appreciate that the human mind likes being on autopilot. It likes doing things automatically, and that could be driving, that could be breathing, that could be blinking. We do it, but we don't think about it. And it's the same thing with food. Your brain has an autopilot response to dealing with food. In the same way, if it was hot, you might open a window. If you're stressed, you might reach for a certain type of food. That might be sugary, starchy, fatty, something like that. So the key thing is when your brain is back on autopilot, it's going to do these things that you've been habitually doing your whole life. And at that point, you start evaluating, well, I've failed my resolution. And typically, I've seen this several times, people get into this mindset of almost playing a psychological game of snakes and ladders. So this is where people make lots and lots of effort to make progress, but the moment that one thing goes wrong, it sets off a chain reaction of things which then make them feel like they're back to square one. So if you've ever heard yourself use this phrase, back to square one, then you are one of those people playing this psychological game of snakes and ladders. And it's not that helpful, because then what happens is people feel the guilt of failure, but there's also a psychological principle called learned helplessness. And this is where that if you fail numerous times at something, you develop a belief system that you can't do it. And this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the moment you believe that you can't do something, your resources shut down. Now, these resources are the very thing that you need to be able to lose weight. If you don't have confidence in yourself, if you don't have self-belief, then you're not going to feel resourceful, you're not going to feel motivated, you're not going to feel determined, you're not going to feel resilient. So it doesn't make sense to set resolutions. So even if you failed a resolution, I'm going to plead with you, don't set another resolution. Here's my advice. Instead of a resolution, set a goal. Now, a goal has to be very, very clear as an outcome. You have to have a finishing line. You have to know when you've actually hit the goal. Now, a lot of people are going to set a goal that is a weight goal. It might be a certain number of kilos, certain stone amount, whatever it might be. Here's the key thing I'm going to recommend. So in addition to setting a goal rather than a resolution, my second tip is going to be that you have the goal set in terms of body fat percentage rather than weight. Because if you are, let's say, drinking lots of water, which is very healthy, you might find that your body fat percentage goes down, but your weight stays the same. But that's still a positive thing. You might find that if you start going to the gym more or exercising more, even walking more, that actually your body fat goes down but your muscle mass increases. Again, that's a very positive thing. But you may look at the scales, feel that you're investing lots of time and effort to lose weight and see that the weight isn't going down and feel like you failed. Whereas actually, if you measured body fat, you would see that you're actually making a lot of success. So tip number 1 is set a goal rather than a resolution. And tip number 2 is to measure body fat rather than weight. Okay. And the third tip that I'm going to give you is to focus on mini milestones. So a lot of the time people set a goal that is too big, that means that even if they're making progress, it feels like it's too far away. And one of my recommendations is to make a milestone a personal best. Now, your first personal best might be the weight or body fat that you've had in the last 3 months. And if you can beat that, then that's your first milestone. Now, bearing in mind, this might be a stepping stone, and you might have 10 or 15 of these stepping stones all the way to your end goal. But you're focused on short-term goals that are very achievable, and then you have to celebrate when you achieve these mini milestones. So they're my 3 tips. The other thing I'm gonna just kind of suggest, offer something free, is that if you haven't had a free consultation with me, a 30-minute phone call, where I can talk through how hypnosis and things like neurolinguistic programming can help tap into these inner resources that maybe you used to have, things like motivation, willpower, discipline, that you're not tapping into now, it might be worth scheduling a call with me completely free of charge, and I can give you tips based on your unique situation. It's completely free, there's no obligation to work with me, but it's something I like to do for people that aren't even one of my regular clients or previous clients, because it's a way that I can kind of give you certain, let's say, customized tips for you that can enable you to make progress. So just to recap there, 3 tips. Don't set a resolution. If you failed your New Year's resolution, don't set another resolution. Set a goal. Make that an ambitious, inspiring goal that is very specific. You know when you've crossed the finishing line. Secondly, absolutely important, try and focus on body fat percentage rather than weight, because then you're going to see the progress that is much more aligned with true success. Weight can fluctuate just by going to the toilet or having a glass of water. So weight's the wrong thing to measure, body fat is the right thing to measure. And then the third thing is set achievable milestones that enable you to have these mini victories on your way to losing weight. I hope that's been useful. If you do want to schedule a free consultation with me, let me know. By the way, this is in my home studio. This is where I record lots of my audio downloads and things like that. There's going to be lots of free audio downloads on my site, so if you've not been there for a while, check that out. Yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to email me or schedule that free call. All right, take care. Bye.